Good evening. We are live, folks. All right, before we get started, welcome. I'm going to have you guys get warmed up. There's going to be some interaction, like always, at our talk tonight. So I want you to respond yes in the comments. Or if you are really adventurous, I'm going to have you find the emoji button and give us a little thumbs up, high five, get that tested out so you guys can interact with us throughout this talk. But in the comment sections, if you can't find the emojis for a thumbs up for us in the comment section or both, I want you to comment yes if what I'm about to explain to you or give you some scenarios around if this sounds like you. And if you comment in the chat, then I will be reading some of those out loud too. So we're multitasking. So today, our talk, we're really going to hit home with some things like folks that I see all the time, they come in, and if you can relate to this, I want you to type yes in the chat, who feel like you've been consistent in the gym. You go to the gym, maybe it's 3, 5, 6 days a week, but your effort isn't showing in how you look, right? You're like, I work out so hard, but you can't tell. Or I don't think I look the way I should look because I am working out so hard and not seeing what I want to see or seeing the results I want, right? Or maybe you're eating really healthy. You eat clean most of the time. You've been trying really hard, but maybe you're stuck at like a weight plateau despite all the clean eating and the prepping and the paying attention and being intentional, but nothing seems to change, right? You can relate to that. Type a yes in the comments. Or maybe I see a lot of times folks are like, I'm doing the same thing that I used to do and it's not working anymore. Or I'm doing the same thing I used to do and even more, and I'm working harder and I'm even more frustrated because it worked then and now it's not, right? So if that sounds like you, or you can relate to any of those, type yes in the comments or give me a thumbs up emoji here in the chat for our YouTube live. So here's the secret that many folks don't realize until we pull back some layers of sometimes we maybe overcomplicate things, or we can't see the forest through the trees, is what somebody once said to me, meaning it doesn't mean that you have to work harder. It doesn't mean that you have to micromanage everything. It may be something small that's overlooked, that's missing, right? And sometimes we have to take a step back, or sometimes we have a friend or a support system or a dietitian to help you peel back the layers and see what is it that I might be overlooking, or is there something foundational that I might be missing? Because it's not about working harder, it's finding that missing link. And that can be different for everyone. I'm sure you've seen something work for someone else and you try the same thing and you don't have the same results. And that can be very frustrating, right? Or you see something on social media and you're like, all these people, there's these reviews and it's amazing. And I bought that same supplement and it didn't work. Or I'm not losing the weight. I'm supposed to be losing all this weight and it's this awesome thing. It's oftentimes pretty simple and foundational, but we get caught up in the details and we get caught up in complicating things, and it might not be that complicated. And we're going to talk through some of those today. So I'm going to break down some of the things that I see behind the scenes for why people get stuck, why we're not seeing the fat loss we want, or why we're not seeing the muscle gain, or maybe not muscle gain, we're losing weight and we're losing muscle. How do we stop that from happening, right? Or maybe you are working out hard. Maybe you're doing CrossFit or you're doing some HIIT training and you're like, my legs just feel like they're in quicksand, right? Or how is Sally next to me going 10 times faster than me? Why do I feel this way? Right? Not that we're comparing, but it can feel that way sometimes. Some days you have good days and you're the front of the pack. Some days you're like, what is going on with my body? Right? So you can be consistent in the gym. You can be consistently eating healthy, But we have to dive down and figure out what is it for you individually need to tweak. Because you've heard me, if you've been through my club or my consistency compounds, consistency is king, it is great, but consistent doesn't guarantee that you're going to be successful or you're going to see results. That's one of the biggest misconceptions that I see is people think that consistency equals progress. True, but you can be consistent and you still can be stuck. Your consistency will only work if you're doing what is actually aligning with your goal, right? You can be consistently following the same program that 10 other people followed and it worked for them and it's not working for you. Well, maybe you have a different goal, or maybe your body needs to be fueling differently so that you can see those results. Again, things are very individualized, but there's three main mistakes that I see all the time, right? So folks come in and they're like, I'm eating healthy, right? I'm eating healthy, I'm eating clean. I'm not seeing the results. I don't understand, right? Well, eating healthy doesn't always mean effective, just like consistency doesn't always mean effective. Eating healthy doesn't always mean effective. We do have to have a structured plan, and we do have to eat for your goals, not somebody else's, but for you. Because you can eat clean foods all day, and you may not be getting what your body actually needs, right? So we may not be getting enough protein. We may not be getting enough calories. We may not be balancing our meals, right? Healthy isn't necessarily the goal. Effective is the goal. So maybe you can relate. Again, you're going to give me a thumbs up or any emoji that you would like to, hopefully not a thumbs down. Any emoji that you would like, or type yes in the chat. If you have ever related to, I have patients that come in and like, I'm eating a salad every day for lunch, right? Or maybe you're eating vegetables, you're eating very low calorie meals, right? Or maybe you're like, I'm making my breakfast smoothie. I'm putting my protein and my spinach and my berries. I'm eating my protein for breakfast. It's great, right? Or maybe I'm clean eating my meals, right? I'm not eating any fried foods. I'm not eating junk foods. I'm not going through McDonald's, right? And if I do go out to eat, I'm picking the healthiest thing on the menu. You've been educated well, right? You're picking the blackened or the grilled. You're doing veggies as your side, right? Maybe you can relate to some of those. You can send me a chat message there. There we go. But that's great. But our body doesn't respond to healthy. It responds to fuel. It responds to structure. It responds to consistency that matches for your goals in your body, the right nutrition for you. Because again, I'm going to say it again. You know I love talking about protein. You can eat super clean, but you still can be missing out on the amount of protein that you need. You can be eating super healthy, and you're not getting enough calories. You're not fueling for your workouts, right? We don't get enough protein. We don't do our strength training. We don't eat enough. We're not going to be gaining muscle. Our metabolism, it's going to start to tank. The more muscle you have, which protein strength training helps us build it, the more muscle you have, the higher your metabolism, right? So if you're losing muscle, you're under fueling. That doesn't mean that we're actually helping us lose fat and be healthier, right? We actually can be slowing our metabolism down. So again, if you're not fueling, these things can actually stall our fat loss. So I want you to start reframing. I want you to start thinking, am I getting enough protein? Am I actually fueling for my workouts? What are your goals? Like, be specific. What do you want to see and envision? You've probably heard that, like, vision where you want to be, do your vision board, write out your SMART goals, right? But really just sit down. What do you specifically want? What is it that's going to be your why that drives you, right? Is it grandkids and picking them up off the ground, right? Is it looking good in your swimsuit on the beach, right? Confidence. People tell me, oh, it's a vain goal. I'm like, no, you want to feel confident and feel good in your body. That is not a vain goal. That is a very important piece of our mindset for living a healthy, happy life, right? Maybe even helping serve others, right? Um, so you got to think about your goals and your why. That is a huge piece. That's when I start out my sessions, in my first session, I'm like, why? Why are you here? What motivates you? Why are you motivated? If you can ask yourself why 3 times and write that down, I'm going to say that is probably going to be a big motivator for you. And that's what's going to move the needle when there's something that you don't necessarily want to do, but you're like, I probably should do that anyway, right? Ask yourself why 3 times. What is your goal? Ask yourself why 3 times, write that down. Encourage you to do that. Or come see me and I'll ask you your why 3 times and I'll write it down and send it to you. All right. So thinking through too, start thinking this is what I love. What can you create a system for? Maybe you've heard of in your life creating systems to make things easier, right? Can we repeat meals? Can we plan ahead? Can we stop winging it day to day? I'll give you a short real life example. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT, because I love my AI. I'm going to ask ChatGPT a question, and I'm going to give you just a quick little rundown of what it tells me so you can do the same, especially if you talk to your AI, your ChatGPT, your Grok, whatever it is. If you talk to it and it knows a little bit about your health goals, or if you've watched my AI health hacks YouTube, you should go watch that. And then you're going to be set up for all the AI, how to make you healthier and use it as a good tool, right? Not a replacement, but a great tool. All right. So I'm going to say, hey, chat, I need help creating a system for my goals for nutrition, for healthy eating, and having structure. Help me create a system for that. All right. And what does she say? Define your non-negotiables. Ooh, I like that. Example, protein, at least 25 to 30 per meal 3 times a day. Excellent answer. My chat's been trained. Build weekly structure, right? 2 to 3 repeatable meals for breakfast, lunch, dinner. I love that as well, right? Same thing, snacks. Do not plan 21 different meals and go spend 10 hours meal prepping and having all the fresh vegetables in the world that you only go bad or for you to be sick of it by Wednesday, okay? Twice a week meal prep, short meal preps, or 2 times a week cooking with some leftovers, I find is a really sweet spot if you do not want to be a chef in the kitchen all the time. It says using the 5-4-3-2-1 grocery system. That is a system that I created that if you are part of our circle group, or if you want to be, put a smiley face in the chat if you want to be part of the circle group that has the 5-4-3-2-1 grocery method, but it helps with some grocery shopping and lists and helps make it simple and easy. So smiley face in the chat if you want me to invite you to Circle and lead you towards that resource. Circle is free. It's a online community where I have a lot of talks and resources. That's what that is. Shameless plug. All right. Create default meals, emergency meals. I talk about that a lot with my patients too, of like have a backup meal, maybe it's something in the freezer. They're doing much better with freezer meals that you can just pop in the microwave, right? Or again, your protein shake. Maybe it's breakfast or dinner, a rotisserie chicken. Easy. You need easy default meals for when life gets busy. You have a rough day. You don't want to cook. What can you do? Maybe even under 5 minutes. Install a daily rhythm, right? This is kind of creating habits and structure, right? Just kind of being on autopilot with, hey, morning I do this, midday I pack my lunch, right? You have some structured plan. Tracking the right metrics. This is where we're going to be going next, actually. Great segue. All right. Thank you, chat. That was good. But that's something that's a really simple way that, again, maybe you want to give it the more data and context you give something like ChatGPT or your AI assistant, the better response you're going to get. So that is the key, is you do have to feed it some data to have it give you something helpful. But creating a system, love that. All right, our second mistake, we touched on this a little bit already, but one of the biggest mistakes I see also, especially now with a little bit more of the GLP-1 the weight loss shots or the appetite suppressant type of medical weight loss category, if you will. Or even people who maybe in the past you did count calories and that was a great way for you to lose weight. And now it's not working, right? But it's underfueling, right? So again, if you're not as hungry or not that interested in food, or you're trying to restrict your calories, then this is, again, one thing that people kind of don't expect, especially my women, my GLP-1 folks, my high performers. You're exercising a lot, right? And especially people who are trying to lose fat, right? Sometimes, again, if you can relate, give me a smiley face or a hand and thumbs up. If you can relate, or maybe a sad face. If you've skipped meals, right? You maybe skip breakfast or you don't pack your lunch, and then you get home and you're really hungry for dinner, right? And you're tired and you don't want to cook dinner, and somebody says, oh, we'll get Chick-fil-A, or we're going to order some pizza. What do you think? And you're like, yes. And then you overeat, right? So sometimes it's skipping meals, or sometimes it's just, you're not really hungry. You skip meals all day, and then you go to the gym and you work out and you've had a peanut butter and jelly and that's all you've eaten for the day. And then you're like, why do I feel this way? I feel so tired. Underfueling, right? Again, eating light throughout the day, or again, another one I see is saving calories. You're saving your calories for going out to dinner on Friday night. You're saving your calories for your margarita or whatever. Let's have a better plan than that, right? So those things, when you're thinking some of those things or doing some of those things, we start to think, okay, if I eat less, I'm going to lose more, right? There we go. Hi, Miss Mandy. Yes, she gets busy. Yes, we get busy. I 100% can relate to that. Sometimes you just get busy and you forget to eat, right? But we think, okay, if I eat less, then I'm going to lose more. But what do you think actually happens? We maybe aren't feeling that great in the gym. Energy drops. Maybe you're more tired. You're more like your brain fog. You're like, oh, I just can't even. I've had a long day. I can't do anything else today. My brain is gone. I'm done for the day. Well, maybe we need to fuel our brain with some nutrients and calories so that you can be more effective. You can be more, aware and here for your kids, your commitments, your Bible studies, whatever it is. We need to be fueling so that you can be fully present, right? So energy drops, our workout suffers, your recovery slows. If you're like, why am I so sore? I'm working out and I'm not usually this sore. What's going on? Maybe you're underfueling, right? And our metabolism adapts. We talked about that. Muscle mass, you underfuel, you will lose muscle. That is kind of a number one problem for GLP-1s is muscle loss, right? Because when you lose muscle and your metabolism drops, and then you maybe gain weight back, you're probably not gaining muscle back. And now we've got a slower metabolism. We've got more fat, right? Brian says hydration has also been a key component. I never part from my gallon bottle. I love that. There's actually out there, what is it? It's like a water bottle smart tracker or something. Anyway, there's also an app called Plant Nanny. I had an older gentleman tell me about Plant Nanny. You should check it out. If hydration is something you struggle with, I highly suggest have your emotional support bottle, right? Or if you ever been like Chia Pets or Geeka Pets, oh my gosh, I'm dating myself there. But a challenge, a game, let's call it that. Plant Nanny is a really fun app. But yes, hydration. And hydration is on my list here. So thank you, Brian. You are one step ahead. But when you don't eat enough, right, you're not necessarily speeding up fat loss. We're actually slowing things down. Right? You can't underfuel, undereat, and expect to perform high, right? Or do well in your workouts, or expect body recomposition. So how do we fix that? All right. Well, we need to eat enough to support training. And I'll give you a little pro tip here in a minute, but we need to eat enough, right? One of the telltale signs that if a patient isn't eating enough, or if one of my clients isn't eating enough, I'll ask them, when we're going through, maybe there is food logs and we're looking at that, but I'll say, have you been craving anything? Have you been like binging on anything, right? And usually my GLP-1s, no. But if we're traditional like calorie counting or somebody's trying to lose weight and they're like skipping meals, usually there's some sort of rebound effect of overeating or craving something, right? Again, I'll say energy 1 to 10. 10 is high energy, you're great. 1 is low energy, you can barely get out of bed. We've probably got a medical condition, right? I want people to live around an 8. Maybe you had a bad night of sleep and you're like a 6 or a 7, but most of the time you're an 8 when the stars align, right? If you're living around a 5 or a 6 on energy levels, then I'm going to be questioning, are we eating enough, right? Another, if you're a data metric person, another thing I'm looking at is a body composition at scale. It may not be that your body composition scale at home is 100% accurate, but it will show you trends. If your muscle mass is trending down, maybe your muscle mass is trending down, you have a huge drop in weight loss. I'm going to say we're probably doing this in a way that's not sustainable. And you're probably going to be gaining it back. We need to slow this down, right? Not something everybody wants to hear, but it's true. We need to prioritize your protein, eating enough. Carbs around workout, that's going to be another pro tip here in a minute, but making sure you're having some carbs before you go into your workout, especially if you are trying to lose fat and you are in a calorie deficit. We still want to have good workouts. We have to have those carbs before. But we have to reframe this thought of, we're thinking less food equals better results. That is absolutely the opposite here. So mistake number 3, we're going to keep rolling here. All right. I love being able to see some of the comments there. Okay. Mistake number 3, not prioritizing your protein or not prioritizing your muscle. A lot of people are chasing weight loss, a number on the scale, but we're not looking at that muscle mass. Muscle is what drives your metabolism. It is the most metabolically active tissue in your body. What is metabolically active? What is metabolism? It's burning calories. It is burning calories, right? And in a way where you're burning calories and you're using calories, fuel for your body to feel good, to perform well, you're using protein to help build more muscle, right? Muscle drives your metabolism. It drives your performance. And for the most part, it drives how your body actually looks, right? If you've got some muscle on you, then usually people are like, oh, they look healthy, right? Or fit, or I can tell they go to the gym. Right? So we want to, if you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to, I say, recomposition, right? You're trying to lose weight, but we have to be protecting that muscle mass. If you are losing weight and you're not paying attention to muscle, lean body mass, muscle on a body composition scale, you're not paying attention to your protein, if we don't protect that muscle, you are setting yourself up for a plateau. Best case scenario, you plateau, right? Or you lose muscle, lose fat, and then regain it. That is, if there's one thing you take away from tonight, is we have to have protein, strength training. We have to be building this muscle, or at least keeping it, protecting it. Which brings us up to our next topic here. All right, so why is eating healthy not always enough, right? And I've got about 5 things here. So as I read them, if it relates to you, can either drop that word in the comments, or you can give me a let's do again, maybe a thumbs up or a smiley face, or maybe a sad face, or appropriate emoji. Let's say an appropriate emoji. So emoji number 1 is going to be strength training, right? So sometimes eating healthy, right? And we talked about we need to be eating towards our goals and what is individualized for us, but we do need strength training. All of us need strength training. Whether you're 90 years old and your strength training is getting up and down out of your chair, a body weight squat, right? Or maybe you don't have time to go to the gym, but you do 50 wall push-ups throughout the day, or you take these stairs multiple times a day, right? We need to do something that is building strength. Ideally, yes, we're doing something where we have a stimulus of a barbell or a dumbbell or a band, right? But body weight, that's great. That works too. I like to talk about exercise snacks, right? That's the do 50 push-ups in a day, anytime you want. Maybe you do 10 push-ups at a time, 5 times throughout the day, right? Or holding a plank as long as you can. Do that 3 times a day. Or get the pull-up bar above your door. Every time you go out to go to the bathroom from your home office, you do 5 pull-ups, right? So strength training is key. Let's see, what do we got here, Brian? Mind to muscle connection is extremely important. Treating each rep with a degree of concentration is going to make all the difference. Yes, I like it. You have to achieve failure as well. Yes, there is some like max effort going to failure, some different strength training routines out there. It sounds like you hit the gym, Brian. So it sounds like you're ahead of the curve. But our strength training, it's not just so that we can look like we work out or so we can look toned or that we have muscles, right? Yes, that's awesome. Most of us want that. But part of one of the hottest trends I see right now is strength training. And we're kind of getting away from traditional cardio classes, right? When's the last time you saw step aerobics? PS love step aerobics, but when was the last time, right? We're seeing more strength training, more HIIT. Part of why, and we're seeing more research around strength training, protein eating enough, right? We're seeing people live longer, people live more independent life, right? If you can get up and down stairs when you're 90, that's a great accomplishment, right? You're going to have less instability and fall and break a hip, but now you're in the hospital, and breaking a hip when you're older is not great for the next steps of life, right? But when you have more muscle, you live longer, you live more independently. Your longevity, that's another hot topic right now, is longevity of things, right? More muscle, meaning strength training and protein and eating enough, leads to a longer, healthier life. That's just what we're finding. So in general, if I was going to give a general, where do I start, right? Maybe it is exercise snacks. Maybe it is looking at a step tracker, a movement tracker, right? We're going to strength training, but we need to be moving as well. That's the other big mistake people make, is they don't even move enough, right? If you're sitting at a desk job, it's hard sometimes to get 10,000 steps, right? If somebody's under 10,000 steps, I'm like, we got baby step number 1. Let's get some movement in here, and let's go move to the wall and do some wall push-ups, right? But in general, at least 3 times a week, strength training specifically. Maybe start with 30 minutes, but at least 3 times a week is going to be a really good baseline for that strength training. Again, exercise snacks, those are amazing. Small little things you can do throughout the day. All right, as we kind of wrap up of why healthy eating isn't enough, we also want to think about stress. Stress has a big impact on your ability to lose fat, especially around your midsection, right? Sleep and recovery, your muscle building, your progress is going to be made when you sleep. You have to sleep. It is when you build muscle and recover, right? Our calories and our portions, even in healthy foods, is another mistake sometimes, is we may be eating healthy, but you can definitely overeat on trail mix and peanut butter and 400 calories worth of olive oil. Great, healthy, good for your heart, but that can be sneaky if we're not being intentional, or maybe even like doing some measuring of some of those foods, especially the fat family, that might be a little bit higher in calories, right? So just some different things to be thinking about. So what actually drives results? Where do we start first, y'all? Well, protein. Number 1. If you hadn't guessed that, then you probably didn't listen. Protein, right? And yes, Brian, strengthening around the joints and the ligaments for longevity. Ooh, I love that. So protein at every meal, aiming for around 25-ish grams. I think that's what chat gave us. Thank you, chat. But that's a really good way to start building a system and some structure around it. Am I at least getting that like 25 grams? My men, or if you have a little bit more muscle, and say a little closer to 30 is better. But getting that protein at every meal. So we've at least got 3 meals, 25, 30 grams of protein. We're doing pretty good there. Add a couple high protein snacks, maybe a protein shake post-workout, and we're getting close to that protein need. Fueling your workouts. So pro tip, especially if you're trying to be in a Calorie deficit is eating a carb before your workout. Don't train on empty. It's not going to go well. Feed your body a carb. Maybe it's a banana about 30 minutes before you work out. Maybe it's a longer Saturday workout and you're doing more endurance. Maybe you need a half a peanut butter and jelly about 45 minutes, right? And then maybe you need a dried mango strip right before you head out the door, right? Repeating your meals, keeping it simple, don't overcomplicate. Again, have some of those backup meals ready to go. And my thing that I want to leave you guys with tonight, if you want to throw it in the chat, I would love to see it. But I want you to do one thing. I want you to think about something you can track, right? Hint, protein would be a great one. Track your protein for one day. See how much you're getting, right? Are you getting 30 at your meals? Are you hitting 100 grams a day? If you're under 100, come talk to me, right? We likely need more than that. But that's a good kind of baseline. Like, am I even close to that? Some people, it's surprising. They're not. We got to slowly build up that protein. But track one thing. So protein would be a good one. Water, like Brian had mentioned, hydration. Are you getting enough water? Generally, about half of your weight in ounces is a good place to start. Everybody's individualized, so keep that in mind. But maybe you are tracking serving sizes. Maybe you are tracking or logging in food in like MyFitnessPal or something. Maybe you're tracking your gut health. I have people all the time tracking their bowel movements, right? Fun stuff. So track something, and that's going to give you the insight. Just like ChatGPT needs its data, you need your data, right? So protein would be a great one, but track something. Pick one thing to track this week, or at least do one day of tracking to see where you're at. If you do anything, track, pick one thing to track. I'm going to suggest protein, but maybe you do great on your protein, and we need to work on our water, right? Pick something to track. So if any of this is hitting home with you as we wrap up, again, you don't need to overhaul everything. Start with one simple thing. And it's take what you're doing, let's turn it into a plan that works for you, right? And if you need help with that plan, that's exactly what we do with Marley Nutrition. RX Nutrition is we work with people who are feeling stuck. You maybe feel like you're already consistent, maybe trying to do something more sustainable without an extreme. Maybe you're worried about losing muscle mass because you just heard about how important it is for longevity, right? A lot of our clients are using their insurance to cover sessions for their nutrition, often at no cost. So if you're interested in any of that, you want to help dial it in, you want a personalized plan, you want us to help you see the forest through the trees, then what we do is that one-on-one nutritional counseling. We sit down, we do a deep dive with one of my dietitians or myself, and we focus on whatever your goal might be, whether it's performance, fat loss, GLP-1 support, again, often covered by insurance, no cost. So I'm going to throw in here in the chat our phone number, which is going to be 469-300-1392, 469-300-1392, that you can text. I will respond to your text. Chatbot might also respond, but I will as well. You can just text START, and I will know that you were at this talk and you want to get started. Or marleynutrition.com. That's a great place to learn what does a session look like. Hey, you want me to just check your insurance for you? Happy to do that. So if you want help with a plan that's actually going to work for you, then check us out. Go to marleynutrition.com, shoot us a text message, and we'll be happy to further this conversation. All right. Thank you guys for logging in. Loved all the comments. Thank you, Brian, Mandy, Jamie. Wonderful, wonderful. So glad you guys could tune in. Have a wonderful evening. Bye, y'all.